Middle-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio, the perfect place to race for race fans and race drivers. Today, the top sports car drivers from around the world are here in our nation's heartland for a heart-pounding test of talent, technology, and the return of some good old-fashioned American muscle.
The American Le Mans Series is next on NBC Sports.
NBC Sports presents the American Le Mans Series. Today, it's round 6, the Acura Sports Car Challenge from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. Hi everybody, Bill Weber along with Calvin Fish. Welcome to the Porsche Countdown to Green, a 2.25 mile track with 4 classes of cars competing at the same time, a formula for excitement.
It really is, Bill. This is a spectacular racetrack, and it'll be chaotic out there this afternoon with 4 classes running at the same time. For the drivers, some heart-stopping moments for sure. For the fans, you'll be glued to the edge of your seats all day long.
Halfway through the 2009 season, the race for the championship is well underway.
It is. 5 rounds down, 5 to go, everything to play for. But for these teams, 3 races in the next 4 weeks. It is crunch time in the championship. You have to execute.
It all gets started right here at Mid-Ohio. Let's take a look at today's Progressive Direct storylines. DeFerrin Motorsports comes in with 3 straight wins, and they are on pole.
Gilles DeFerrin claimed his 4th consecutive career pole position at Mid-Ohio here yesterday. 2 of those dating back to his kart career and 1 last year in P2. He loves the test of this circuit and believes a qualifying lap here is motorsports at its purest.
Qualifying was intense. For more, here's Marty Snyder.
Well, Bill, I'll tell you, it's a blast to watch these Acuras in the P1 battle it out on the racetrack, duking it out, probably more to the term for it. 7/100ths of a second separating you guys in qualifying. Gilles DeFerrin winning the pole, obviously. How intense and how close is this battle between these 2 Acuras?
Very intense. I mean, I was talking to Duncan Dayton after Lime Rock, and I said, I'll tell you what, we definitely make this interesting. And yesterday was yet another nail-biter. I mean, we collaborate a lot during the practice sessions to help the whole Acura program. But believe me, come qualifying in the race, we're fighting tooth and nail. And for us, it's important to always finish in front of them because of the deficit we have in the championship, given that we didn't finish the first race.
You mentioned that championship battle. You guys rounding into championship form, it means all of a sudden a little bit more to you. You announced yesterday, probably surprised some people, you're retiring as a driver. Why now?
I am. I have big dreams for our team. I want to try to expand our team, and I'm finding harder and harder to do both things, certainly to the standards I would like to accomplish. And I thought it's best for me to focus on the team. This has always been about the team and not about me reliving my dream as a race car driver. So I'm going to be stepping out of the cockpit and hopefully taking the team forward. Those big plans he's talking about, 2 American Le Mans Series next year, American Le Mans Series teams planned next year for Gilles DeFerrin, Bill.
Thank you, Marty. In P2, the Lowe's Fernandez Acura had its 4-race winning streak snapped at Lime Rock by Dyson Racing and a Mazda. Those 2 teams will slug it out this afternoon, but today, Porsche returns to the track with a new look and a renewed team. People looking forward to that. Now in GT2, 4 different manufacturers will compete. Jörg Bergmeister and Patrick Long are chasing a class record-tying 4th straight win by the same 2-man team. But today they face a new rival, the Chevrolet Corvette, making its debut in GT2 after a long and successful run in GT1. For more on some reborn American muscle, say hello to Kelly Stavist.
Bill, there seems to be no real new car blues for the 2 Corvettes who were quick right out of the box, qualifying 6th and 3rd in their GT2 debut. Johnny O'Connell's number 3 car will start 3rd, but Johnny, this is one of the toughest lineups we've seen in the GT2 class. So what are your expectations first time out?
you know what? Corvette Racing knows how to build a speedy car, and I think it's really appropriate that we're here, you know, mixing it up with the Porsches, Ferraris, and BMWs. And, you know, we haven't done the running that we really would have liked to, but, you know what? Everybody at Pratt & Miller knows how to build a race car, and the relationship that we've had with production at Corvette and the ZR1, you know, there's a reason we're this, you know, far up, you know, with our debut. We want to, you know, improve on the car, and I think that we will, and give Corvette fans around the world something to cheer for.
Bill, you can hear the excitement in Johnny's voice. All 4 of these Corvette drivers walking around with smiles on their face this weekend.
You bet they are, Kelly. Thanks a lot. There are 6 cars competing in the 3rd round of the ALMS Challenge class. On pole, the 47 of Guy Cosmo and John Baker, looking to become the 3rd different class winner in 3 races in 2009. Time now to meet the star of the show. Let's take an exciting lap around Mid-Ohio with Calvin and David Brabham.
Mid-Ohio is a spectacular racetrack, 2.25 miles with 13 demanding corners. Lots of elevation change and the most physically challenging circuit the series competes on. We're on board with David Brabham, exiting turn 1, now up to 150 miles an hour as he jumps on the brake for turn 2, the keyhole corner. Very slow corner. You've got to wait, be patient, and then get on the power early to launch you down this long back straightaway. Turn 3 really only a factor if we see traffic through that area. Maximum speed achieved right there at 170 miles an hour. Then he's hard on the brake once again for the S's. Look at the traffic up ahead. It's going to be a frustration factor all day long. We have 4 classes competing on the racetrack at the very same time. Then it's down into turn 6, then through an area of the racetrack we call Madness, up through under the Acura bridge. The car gets light right here, so you set up for turn 9. Then it's down through Thunder Valley. Spectacular area of the racetrack. The cars sound fantastic through here. Then it's on the brakes once again. Look at the traffic as he enters turn 11, that fast left-hander. You've got to be patient here. Look at him gap the traffic. He'll wait, he'll wait, he'll wait. Be patient, then on the power early to launch yourself across this start-finish line. And that completes a lap here at Mid-Ohio.
And you got to try and do that successfully for 2 hours and 45 minutes this afternoon. 26 cars on the starting grid. Let's meet the pole-winning teams from each of the 4 classes.
My name is Gil de Ferran. I'm originally from São Paulo, Brazil, and I currently live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Hi, I'm Simon Pagenaud. I live in Montmorillon, France.
Luis Diaz, Mexico City, Mexico.
Hi, I'm Adrian Fernandez from Mexico City.
Hi, I'm Jörg Bergmeister from Langenfeld, Germany.
Hi, I'm Patrick Long from Oak Park, California, currently residing in Bel Air Bluffs, Florida.
I'm Guy Cosmo, and I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida.
My name's John Baker, and I'm from New York City, New York.
And you'll see the rest of the starting grid on the ticker across the top of your screen. And you can just feel the anticipation and the excitement here at Mid-Ohio.
You really can. This is a great racetrack. We're looking forward to the start of this one. But for these teams right now, the big question mark is the weather. There's a threat of rain here this afternoon, and that'll definitely change things.
26 cars in a true production-based series, 4 classes competing on the same track at the same time in a series with worldwide interest. People in more than 50 countries will watch this race in more than a dozen different languages. Let's get a quick update from Kelly.
Well, Bill, in races past, we've seen Simon Pagenaud make some great moves at the start. Now, this time, of course, he's starting in that front spot. He says he really enjoys starting. He actually likes going out there on those cold tires, and he says he loves it because he knows right away he's going to be running side by side with the competition.
Thanks, Kelly. They don't start on the front stretch here.
No, they don't. It's very tight. They're getting into turn 1, so this gives them a little bit more room to accelerate. Side by side here, they'll be getting the green flag shortly.
Glad you're along for the ride. The American Le Mans Series is going green at Mid-Ohio.
Pagenaud takes off. He's caught Scott Sharp napping a little bit there. Look at the P2s all over him.
No green flag. They didn't give it. Caution is out.
Simon Pagenaud got a big launch there, Bill, and I think that was the reason we didn't see the green flag come out. I mean, Scott Sharp was several car lengths behind him when we got to the stripe.
Similar to what we saw at Lime Rock.
Absolutely. I mean, they want a good, clean start here, but then they have to negotiate down through this S's, and that can get really tight.
Getting a report that the 66 car went too soon. There's Pagenaud on board.
What this will do, all of the teams and drivers now, they'll be working on their fuel mileage. This will change things just a little bit. And it also allows these drivers to generate a little bit more tire temperature and get those tire pressures up, more importantly, for these opening laps.
This is a timed event, so the clock has started.
There's Dick Martin down there. He's in charge of all the officials down there, and he's gone over to the team and said, what was that all about?
But really, you want a clean start, and you want it not only for the teams to be fair, but you want the fans to see a good clean start as well.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to these two P1 Acuras going out at tooth and nail, and we don't want Simon to suddenly have a 3-second advantage before we get to the first corner.
This is the pit straight, or the front stretch here at Mid-Ohio, 2.25-mile course.
This turn 1 area is just spectacular. I mean, 3.5 Gs the P1 cars are pulling through. They're just unbelievable, the forces that are generated in these high downforce prototype machines.
Now heading up toward turn 2.
And look at it, they're almost trading paint here before we even get around that final corner. You see the two cars up ahead here of the Dyson machine. And 600 horsepower on tap once those P1 drivers light the torch.
Again, they head for the starter's stand.
Much cleaner run there, side by side. They start to accelerate. Good looking start.
Got the green this time. Here we go.
Pagano to the inside. That's what pole position gives you. But Sharpie can push his way around the outside or put you on the inside for turn 5. But he tucks in behind him. Good clean start as the rest of the field come through turn 4.
See the Dyson cars there, the Mazdas.
They use their horsepower to great effect. We see one of the challenge cars off in the gravel trap early. The 08 car, this will be a caution for sure. There's some suspension damage, it looks like, too.
Full course caution. So the field will slow, the pace car will come out.
This is one thing that the Fernandez team, who lead the P2 championship, were worried about. Those Masters are so fast down the straightaway, and you have that long run down to the S's here, and both Dyson's got the jump on Luis Diaz.
Go back and see if we can watch the top of the screen here. Yep, he's already lost it.
Oh, he's already off to the left side as he gets down into the braking zone. So you'd have to think that maybe he got a bump there and got some help to get him out on the outside of the racetrack.
So the safety crew heads out to give some aid to Ed Brown in that 08 car. We're under caution early here at Mid-Ohio. Simon Pagano, Gilles de Ferran, their car up front early at Mid-Ohio. There you see the leaders in each class on NBC. The American Le Mans Series on NBC is brought to you by Acura, Acura Advance, by Michelin, a better way forward, and by Progressive Insurance. Visit progressive.com. Bill Weber along with Calvin Fish and our NBC race family spending the weekend at Mid-Ohio, Lexington, Ohio. Still under caution after an early crash by Ed Brown. Time now for our BMW keys to winning. First of all, no texting while driving.
That's right, Bill. Just like driving on the street, you must look ahead. The drivers today must really keep their heads up to avoid disaster because of the intense traffic they're going to encounter all day long.
Filler up.
Well, fuel strategy always plays a part in these races. 2-hour, 45-minute race was going to be tight for some of these guys to do it on just 3 loads of fuel. But with this caution and rain on its way, maybe someone will do it on 1 stop for fuel.
And our final key, the keys, please.
Well, one of the elements of sports car racing is multiple drivers in the same car, of course, and the driver change has to be very well orchestrated. Remember today with this rain, you may not be putting a full fuel load of fuel in, so you've got to be really fast with that driver change.
Those are our BMW keys to winning. Now, I'll show you again why we're under caution here. Watch the top of your screen. You see the 08 Ed Brown sliding backwards hard into the guardrail.
Now, the tires would have been cold there, but to go off on that side of the racetrack, you'd have to think that he may have got a helping hand in terms of the teams jostled down into position for that first turn they encounter. But here we see Ed Brown is being taken to the medical center here, and hopefully just precautionary measures, just putting him on that flatboard to make sure he is okay.
And when we get an update, we'll be sure and pass that along to you. of the buzz this weekend here at Mid-Ohio about the return of the Corvette, marking its debut in GT2. No entrant has won more series races than Corvette, 70 victories. 2 of the new Corvettes are here this weekend and will compete for the balance of the 2009 season.
To get someplace where we had great competition and great competition from around the globe. So when you look at the manufacturers with which we're going to be competing, BMW, Ferrari, Porsche, Jaguar, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. These are the marques that we compete with in the showroom, and now they're going to be the marques we compete with on the racetrack. And I'll tell you what, because they're so production relevant, they're very representative of what you can buy. And when you start with a great street car like the Corvette ZR1, you're going to end up with a great race car.
But really, for all of us, making the switch, it's getting used to the steel rotors versus the carbon, less power, less grip. But so far, we're all enjoying it because we're actually sliding the car a little bit more, and it's proven to be a lot of fun.
We're very excited to do it here. This is a great racetrack, a technical racetrack, a terrific spectator venue. Everybody has history here. All the manufacturers love coming. This is the place we needed to debut that car because it's going to be double throwdown. Get ready. It's UFC on wheels.
And talking to Doug here this weekend, you can tell that whole team is excited, but the 2 big things he brought out is that car, that GT2 car, basically is 10 years in development, getting ready for here. And the other thing you hear here now in the American Le Mans Series is return on investment, ROI, and that's exactly what the Corvette is going to deliver here because of its popularity, a huge return on investment with the success they've experienced.
Absolutely. I mean, Corvette is now a global brand, so they're going to Le Mans, they're winning championships and races over there as well. But for Corvette racing, this is so important, the debut of this GT2 machine. They've had things their own way a little bit in the last few years in GT1, but boy, they have the GT2 paddock shaking in their boots right now.
And this is the Corvette corrals right outside the stands. They have to limit the number of cars they bring in there because it's such a popular car. It's right next to the TV compound, so it takes a few extra minutes to get to the TV compound just because you want to stop and look at all those Corvettes out there. And it will be interesting to see how they do today and how these 2 teams race against each other, because we remember what happened here a year ago.
They certainly have. They've always said their toughest competition has been the sister cars, but right now, even though the initial start was on that back straightaway, these boys are getting ready for the start on the start-finish straight right here coming up.
Only allow 250 Corvettes in that corral. It's filled at every race all the way from Arizona this weekend. We're back under green.
Simon Pagenaud just takes off, immediately gains about 4 to 5 car lengths on Scott Sharp in the Patron machine.
Now
there's Greg Pickett in the Porsche.
Sorry about that, Calvin. Just want to point out one car you're not going to see up front is the 16 of Chris Dyson. That's on board with Dyson. He had to come to pit road because his lights on the front of the car weren't working.
No, they hadn't connected the electrical supply to the headlights. In the real state, you got to have at least one headlight and one tail light working all the time. So that was a costly mistake. They took the opportunity to throw some fuel in there. But right now, these teams and drivers are just trying to get these tires back up to temperature. We saw Simon Pagenaud weaving around on the straightaway, even after green. What he's doing there is trying to clean those tires off. When you run around on hot rubber during caution, you get pickup on the tires. You have to get the tires cleaned off again.
There's Dyson. Again, had to restart at the rear of the field. Also a report from Marty that David Murray in that 40 car experiencing a vibration under braking, so we'll keep an eye on that as well.
Big weekend for Dyson, of course, winning their home race at Lime Rock Park, and this has been a happy hunting ground for Mazda in the past. They won a P2 race here back on their debut in 2005.
Pagenaud is the leader, the XM Acura. Now let's drop back to GT2.
On board with Jörg Bergmeister, what a season they are having. They've won 4 races in a row. They've got a comfortable margin in the championship at 25 points. But this weekend, the Porsches have had 25 kilos, about 55 pounds added to them. There's something in the rule book that they don't believe is quite right about the Porsche motors.
Yeah, guys, I was talking to Jorgen Patrick Long, his co-driver, and they were saying they weren't too happy about that weight addition. Of course, you wouldn't be either if you were behind the wheel, Calvin, but they said it's really taken a period of adjustment. They almost tested here at Mid-Ohio. They're glad they didn't now because they wouldn't have known about that weight change until they got here, and that would have made their setup completely different. They feel, though, even with the added weight, car's still very fast this weekend, trying to go for their 5th straight win, as you guys mentioned.
There we saw Pat Long, his teammate. Boy, these two just gel together. Patrick back on board with Jörg Bergmeister. Bergmeister just wins championships. He's won the GT2 championship 3 times and looking strong for his 4th.
Waiting for the Corvette. Up to 2nd in class.
He had a great start there, getting around the Risi Ferrari. So Magnussen on a charge here. The Corvette boys, what a debut. Qualifying 3rd and running up towards the front of this GT2 pack. Tricky corner, this one, the carousel turn under braking coming in. You've got to be really careful, and then accelerating onto this front straightaway.
Well, Calvin, and they actually say these GT2 Corvettes handle the same in all corners, which is different from the GT1. But when I talked to Doug Feehan before the race, he said, yes, we were on pace in qualifying, but he said, I don't think the rest of the GT2 field can keep that pace because of tire wear. He thinks that they'll eventually drop off. And he said, we think we can keep that pace and not experience the same tire wear. And he said that on top of our pit strategy, they're going to try 2 different pit strategies depending on how the yellows play out. And our pit execution, as you know, they're some of the best down here. He thinks it's going to give them a big advantage today.
Thanks, Kelly. And it's also interesting to watch the fact the Corvettes aren't just racing each other anymore. That's what Kelly was talking about. And they talked about how they'll be able to use different strategies with 2 different cars against the competition. The GT2 leaders at Mid-Ohio. Fans coming out. Big race weekend here in Lexington. The teams, the intensity, the cars on the track, drivers and crews nervous. See how it all plays out for Brabs and company this afternoon. The NBC race team at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio, and a big thanks to our friends from Porsche for a limited commercial interruption in this afternoon's broadcast.
On board here with Jörg Bergmeister, who continues to lead in GT2, doing a great job.
You might see on that lens a few drops of rain, light sprinkle here at Mid-Ohio, hopefully nothing more than that. The Green Challenge, the Michelin Green X Challenge, part of the ALMS push toward the use of alternative fuels. Today, the American Le Mans Series is the only major racing series using multiple street legal alternative fuels. This is a season-long challenge based on basically who can produce the most power and the most efficiency with the smallest carbon footprint, basically. And it's something the teams really take seriously. And at the end of the year, we'll have a winner in the Michelin Green X Challenge.
Speaking of winners, this boy's done a lot of winning this year. 3 times in the American Le Mans Series, also over in Europe for Peugeot in one of the ALMS races. And he is just on song. He just gels with this car like no one else. He is really at home in this car. And when you get that feel and you get the confidence going, you're almost unbeatable.
Which, as you said, they have been for the last 3 races. A good onboard look, and a thanks to our friends at BSI for all those outstanding camera locations, and to the teams for letting us get in there and put those cameras on board with them. We really appreciate all the work.
Through turn 1 there, he was pulling 3.5 Gs through that turn. Ended at about 140 down to 115 at the midpoint, up to 160 as he braked for this corner, the keyhole. And he's got traffic in front of him. He's going to just try and get that power down early. Checking his mirrors, make sure he's clear.
You see on the ticker at the top of the screen the color-coded numbers. Those are for classes. Red is P1, blue for P2. The GT2 cars will be orange, and then green for the Challenge Series. So that lets you know where the cars are running in each class. Check in on GT2. On board with Magnussen in that GT2 Corvette.
And he is one of the studs in GT racing. He's also been very fast in prototypes during the course of his career. But when he made the move to Corvette racing, they just went on to continue to win races and championships. 70 wins in the American Le Mans Series for Corvette. And right now they're running 2 and 3. That's Ollie Gavin, who's moved his way up into the 3rd position right behind Mags.
10.14.
Now in GT2, the Ferrari has been having some kind of issues. They had an understeer problem they were working on in practice here yesterday, but watch the 62 car, the red 62 here.
Well, that's Pierre Caffer behind the wheel of the 62 car, and here we see one of the BMWs, the 92 machine of Tommy Milner, going around the outside of him. One lap later, here comes Ollie Gavin on a charge in the Corvette. He goes down to the outside of turn 4. And once you get in position here, that'll put you on the inside for the upcoming corner. So Pierre Caffer is dropping like a stone right now. It's his first race here at Mid-Ohio, and this is a tough racetrack to learn.
You saw Gavin and also gotten around the BMW. More from Kelly.
Well, I talked to the Risi Ferrari team manager, David Sims. He says they have not heard a word over the radio from Pierre, so they're really baffled by what's going on. But as Calvin said, it is his first time at Mid-Ohio. In fact, the team was using an onboard GPS system and a camera that could totally map out both Pierre and Jamie Mello's laps, so they could then analyze it and see the different braking points and the apexes and the turns that Jamie was using versus Pierre to help get him up to speed. But really, this is not Pierre's style. He's a very aggressive driver. So the team wondering why he's fallen back.
And Kelly, when we talked to him, he never made a lap around here in a rental car, didn't ride his bike around here. He used YouTube videos to familiarize himself with the track.
Well, that's exactly right. He said it did help him to watch some other people go, but until you get behind that race car. And David Sims saying they had taken care of that understeer problem, so that shouldn't be the issue either. These guys hoping for rain right now.
We'll keep an eye on him.
Well, he's had 2 overall wins in the American Le Mans Series. Ran for Audi for a couple of years, so he's a very fast driver. There's no disrespect to Pierre, but sometimes if the car's not working to your liking, as competitive as this class is right now, you will see that car moving backwards.
Okay, now I found out something this morning. You used to be the driving instructor here, right?
Yeah, for a few years I was the chief instructor here at the Mid-Ohio School, and have a few laps around this place, that's for sure. And this is a tough racetrack. It's very busy, lots of elevation changes we spoke about, and there's a very specific line. It's a very technical racetrack.
Okay, now there have been some interesting developments here. There you see the 2 BMWs.
One of the BMWs really slow there. We understand that he may have got hit by one of the prototype cars a little bit earlier in this lap. So Billy Oberlin behind the wheel of the 90 machine. They went to the back of the grid, having changed tires after qualifying. And here we see him. Gets turned around in that turn 9 area. And look at the damage to that right rear. That rim is broken. And if he hasn't seen pit lane yet, he's going to need to in a hurry. And we understand the 6 car is going to get a penalty. Here we see it. Stop and go penalty for avoidable contact.
And there's the penalty being served, as you said, Calvin. And they're also saying on the BMW they think they may have a flat right rear tire as well. Tried to fill it out for a little bit, but they may be coming to pit road here on this next lap.
Yes, he's not going to go far, Marty. That wheel was severely damaged with the punch that he took from Greg Pickett here. So Billy Oberlin, Joey Hans showing a lot of speed. Podium finish in the last round at Lime Rock. The BMW's looking good. But here on Bobby Rahal's home turf, not a good day for the 90 machine.
Pickett back out on track in that new Porsche. So an old Dyson car that this team has reworked and put back in to the American Le Mans Series. Auto Week magazine is your source for motorsports coverage. For all the latest racing news and information, including the American Le Mans Series, visit autoweek.com today. The road course at Mid-Ohio. It's tough when it's dry. It's even more difficult when it gets a little wet. Tonight, don't miss Terrell Owens' first game with the Buffalo Bills. The NFL returns to NBC with the Hall of Fame game. It's Bills Titans tonight on NBC. Now let's get our BMW driving tip.
Sit in a position that allows you to push on the steering wheel rather than pull on it. When you pull on it, you're actually putting your weight, moving your weight in the seat. And of course, the more you do that, the less sensitivity you have to what's coming through the steering wheel. High school driving instructors always say you should have your hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. However, I believe that 9 and 3 is the best position for your hands for several reasons. Number 1, it gives you the most leverage on the steering wheel. Number 2, when you turn the steering wheel, you know what the center is by automatically looking at your hands. And number 3, when you have a paddle shift, by having it 9 and 3, you can choose the appropriate gear without moving your hands. Handle the steering wheel so that your movements are quick and simple and smooth. The smoother your steering input, the more predictable the car will be, and the better able you'll be to enjoy the experience. Most importantly, look where you want to go. By looking where you want to go, your hands will automatically follow your vision.
And no texting while driving. How many laps does Bobby Rahal have around here?
Well, I would say literally thousands. He lives locally here in Columbus, and what a master behind the wheel. 3-time IndyCar champ, 86 Indy 500 winner, 1 Sebring, and right now his team is doing really well in the American Le Mans Series.
Let's check in on the P2 class. Again, you can see the scoring at the top of the screen, color-coded by class. Blue is P2.
The 16 machine here.
This is quite a story.
Bryce Dyson, it really is. I mean, they are on a roll right now, have a lot of momentum. Won the last round at Lime Rock, the sister car, the 20 car, and here is the 20 machine. They currently lead once again with Butch Leitzinger. 16 car trying to recover, Bill, from that pit stop for the headlight infraction.
Leitzinger, the class leader. Huge win for them at Lime Rock.
It really was. I mean, they've shown a lot of potential with this car. Tremendous straightaway speed, but executing race wins has been all about this team, the Los Fernandez team. Started the season with 4 straight victories, and then at Lime Rock suffered their first defeat.
Yeah, and guys, earlier Luis Diaz was having some trouble with some of the traffic out there, and he wanted the lap split between him and Butch Leitzinger, and they now have a lot of that traffic out of the way, and Luis very happy with the car, trying to get a little bit better. But you mentioned earlier, Calvin, the biggest concern for this Acura Lowe's team this weekend, the horsepower. They feel like they're down much further in horsepower than they have been in the past, so they've got to beat them in the corners, can't beat them on the straightaways.
And also beat them in the pits, Marty, because this Acura will go a little bit further on fuel, but I have to think with that caution period at the start of this race may allow that Mazda to now do a 2-hour 45-minute race on just 2 stops.
On board the 16 car, Chris Dyson, and this is what we started to talk about a minute or two ago. This car had to come to pit road because the lights on the front of the car weren't working. Kelly told us that basically the hood wasn't seated properly, so they fixed that. He went back out under the caution, restarted 25th, and has now moved himself into the 7th position overall and 3rd in class.
It's a great run, and I tell you what, it is a frustrating time when you have the leading car in your class and you get told, you know what, your headlights aren't working. As well, what? This doesn't make me go fast, but you have to hit pit lane. So Chris Dyson had to really keep it together there, not get frustrated. And frustration is easy to have here at Mid-Ohio when you got traffic like you're seeing right now.
Let's get down to Kelly.
And Chris Dyson's teammate, Guy Smith, watching him work his way back up through the pack. Kind of a disappointment after such a great start, but your teammate Chris did say he was so excited about this car. How far has this BP Mazda come from the beginning of the season?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the first race at Sebring was a real learning process for us, but every weekend, every qualifying, every race, we've made gains and been moving forward and been more and more competitive. And this weekend was no exception. Chris did a fantastic job in qualifying within 300 thousandths of pole position. He did a great job again today. He made a great start. Unfortunately, we had a small issue with the lights that we had to rectify, and it dropped us some time, but it's gradually working its way back to the front, so still a long way to go yet.
Your turn's coming up. What will it take to get back to the front of the P2 class?
A yellow would be good right now, but I think the car's going well. I mean, it's got good performance. You know, the cars in front of us are going to start fighting soon, so I've just got to get my head down, drive as fast as I can, and try and catch them up.
Thank you, Guy Smith.
Thanks, Kelly. You knew if Rob Dyson was involved, they were going to get competitive no matter what it took.
Absolutely. I was looking at the cars here in the paddock the other day, and they're just beautifully prepared. After Salt Lake City, that was really the first chance they had to take these cars all the way back down to the monocoque, go through them tooth and nail, and really just fine-tune and really change all of the little things that they'd like to change but haven't had time for. The cars are beautifully prepared, and it shows now on the racetrack as well.
Number of battles going on around this 2.25 mile track. Check in GT2, and gotta tell you, we've been watching this one.
Yeah, this has the opportunity to get ugly here in a hurry. David Murray is really defending his position vehemently here with that Ford GT40. He's really putting some stellar performances here, but it seems like the car has faded a little bit as this run continues. But that 87 machine, the Farnbach-Lowe's Porsche, wants its way through.
That's 7th and 8th in class.
Martin Rodinger behind the wheel. He's one of the Porsche junior drivers, not one of the official factory drivers, but he's been drafted in first time here at Mid-Ohio. And he's going to lose patience here pretty quickly, I think.
And David Murray is a skilled veteran, racing many, many years on road courses around the country.
Oh, he's one of the best in the business, certainly has great experiences. He'll know where to place this car on the racetrack to make it really difficult for that Porsche to get by.
And the Porsche has let him know he's back there.
Yes, he's used the chrome horn, as we like to call it, on him a couple of times, but just giving him a gentle nudge saying, come on, mate, play the game.
Turn 1, and up toward the keyhole.
Talk about the speed through here with the prototypes. Of course, these GT2 cars do not have anything like the downforce of the P1 and the P2 machines, so that mid-corner speed will be down about 15 to 20 miles an hour, but nonetheless, tremendous grip from the downforce from that big rear wing you can see on the GT40 and the slick racing tires. Dunlop tires here on the GT40, and Michelin's behind.
Jörg Bergmeister in the 45 car is the leader in GT2. We did get a report from Marty. He let us know that that 45 car might be a little too free. So we'll see how that affects the 45 car and whether or not the Corvettes can catch him in GT2. There you see the class leaders, racing action all over the track here at Mid-Ohio. Been coming to this track for a long time, a favorite of the teams and the race fans. This afternoon, Rob Dyson and company.
You're watching the American Le Mans Series on NBC.
Bill Weber, Calvin Fish, Kelly Stavist, Marty Snyder, and our hard-working NBC race team at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. For this afternoon's American Le Mans Series event, time now for our Yokohama Forgotten Fact. 25 years ago, here at Mid-Ohio, Derek Bell and Al Holbert gave this iconic prototype sports car its first IMSA GTP win. Now, you can work on that, and we'll give you the answer a little later.
Well, two of the all-time greats.
No kidding. And one of the all-time great cars, too.
Absolutely. Certainly brings back great memories, but right now, this man is writing his own history book. Simon Pagenaud out front and looking comfortable, but about an hour and 11 minutes on the board. This is a lot further than they typically run on this first stint of fuel. That caution period helped out enormously, so very much nervous time right now on pit lane. You hope that your calculations are right. You can't afford to run one of these cars out of fuel. They do have a reserve switch, of course, that should give them an extra lap once he feels a bobble.
And we've always talked about how critical and how dangerous pit stops can be in any form of racing, and last year at this race we saw an example of how dangerous it can be. This was this race just over a year ago. Watch what happens. That's Keith Jones, the fueler, trying to get the fuel hose out. You see the driver start to pull away. The fuel hose snaps, is ignited, and a fire raging along pit road. That's Keith Jones then, and that's Keith Jones now. And for more on this story, let's check in with Kelly.
Well, Bill, the good news is I can report that Jonesy is now happy and very healthy. He will have to undergo a few more cosmetic surgeries, but meanwhile, he's back with DeFerrin Motorsports full-time, as you see, and he has married his longtime girlfriend, Elaine, back in March. He's spending time with his son at the go-kart track, so things are very good. I asked him about returning here to Mid-Ohio, and he says, it hasn't fazed me one bit. I got over it at the hospital a long time ago. He said the outpouring of support was overwhelming. When he woke up at the hospital, he said he couldn't see the paint on the walls in the room because there were so many cars plastered all over it. And then he said, no matter what, if the team wins or loses today, I'm a winner.
Terrific story, Kelly. And he also has talked about how he received terrific treatment at the Ohio State University Medical Center and Wishart Burns Center down in Indianapolis. And they do tremendous work at both those hospitals.
Well, right now we're understanding that these lead cars, the number 9 car may be in this lap, and you'd have to think with an identical equipment and car that the leader would be in also. But here we have Scott Sharp hit pits lane.
And we expect to see the driver change here, right?
We should. I think Brabs will jump in here. Got to be patient here. 60 kilometers, 37 miles per hour. You hear the engine bobbling. You see his head bobbing around as he's on that pit lane speed limiter. hits his marks perfectly.
Now, this might look like it's happening in slow motion, Marty, but this is really a choreographed event.
Absolutely. Robin Hill, the crew chief for this team, wants his team to get better at this. They actually built a pit wall back at the shop in May. They practiced this 30 times a day, Bill, believe it or not, and the two drivers did it 10 times this morning, and they have it free time is what they call it, what Robin calls it, free time on pit road. They have it down to a science. They expect this to be in under 30 seconds with the tire change, a full load of fuel, and then also the driver getting in, and David Brabham in the car right now. They wanted to go as long as they could, and that was a big strategy call. How long do you stay out? And whether the rain would come, Brabs in the car now. He'll finish the race in the car, obviously.
And this is a guy who is sky high. All you have to do is say Le Mans, and he just grins, and he is so proud of his accomplishment at the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Boy, he's on a roll, David Brabham. He won Le Mans last year in GT1, went back this year with the factory Peugeot team and got that brilliant overall win for the first time in his career. He had a stellar year in P2 last year, narrowly missing out on the championship. But right now, this is a critical point in the race, because if we saw a caution happen right now, pit lane would be closed, and that would be a big advantage for the Highcroft team, who just got their pit stop out of the way. So these boys have got their fingers crossed that Simon Pagenaud can get back to pit lane under green conditions.
Getting closer.
We talk about Gilles de Ferran retiring at the end of this year. This will be his last tours around Mid-Ohio. They stay out.
Wow.
So really rolling the dice here. And what this will allow them to do is really affect a much shorter stop when they make their second stop of the day with less fuel going in the car.
There's the Dyson Mazda on pit road. And they're making their driver change. Butch Leitzinger getting in.
Had some clutch issues with this car getting it out of pit lane at the last round. Got lucky.
That was Butch getting out and Franchitti getting in. Sorry about that.
Marino scoring his first American Le Mans Series win at Lime Rock. And Butch, it had been many years. I joked with him the other day, you're going to have to start working out, mate, if you're going to climb that top step of the podium again. And this is a critical time, nervous time in the Dyson pits. And yes, Marino executes a good, clean getaway. That would have been a question mark, even though they thought they had the problem solved.
And you can't touch the tires until the fueler has completed his task.
That's right. You can only do the refueling. Driver change can be underway, but any more servicing on the car, bar cleaning the windshield or the little lip that some of these prototype cars have on the front of the cockpit area, is the only service that can be done. Tire technicians, brake technicians can look at the components. Here we see Simon Pagenaud, pit lane.
Pushes a button to get the car down to the pit road speed.
Now that doesn't break the car, so he still has to slow it down enough so when he hits that point in pit lane where they're measuring the speed, that has to be done by the driver, and then the electronics take over.
You saw him trying to get the water bottle disconnected and some of the other stuff off. So he climbs out, and Gilles de Ferran will climb in, Kelly.
That's right, Gilles de Ferran climbing behind the wheel of the 66 XM de Ferran Acura for what will be his last stint here at Mid-Ohio Raceway. And Simon Pagenaud telling me earlier they used to come into these pit stops and it was kind of like Formula One, 4 tires, fuel, the standard every time. Well, they got burned by Highcroft on a pit stop when Highcroft only changed one side of the tires and beat them out of the pit. So since then, they've kept a keen eye on what the other person is doing in the pits, and that kind of determines how much time they can spend. So we see here, it appears they're going to put all 4 new Michelins on this car, but they've had to be much more strategic here as Gilles de Ferran gets the last connectors hooked up.
Well, this is a disaster, Kelly.
Right.
This has taken them way too long to get that driver change effected. Now, you can either keep the other co-driver out there to help, but with these Hans devices on the helmets now, that makes it awfully tough. But to see inside the cockpit, you can have an assist, like a substitute come in, but they lost valuable seconds right there. Be interested to see where the 9 car is in relation to this car on the racetrack.
Now he's heading toward the pit straight, correct?
Yes, he is. Coming through the carousel turn. Coming out onto this front straightaway. David Brabham behind the wheel. Getting the hammer down. Traffic immediately in front of him. This is not what he needs right now.
And this is something these cars have been fighting here all weekend in practice sessions. Just a tremendous amount of traffic on this 2.25 mile track. It's fun for the fans, but frustrating for the drivers.
Oh, you lose huge chunks of time, Bill. It can be sometimes 3 to 5 seconds in one go if you catch a batch of these cars around the wrong part of the racetrack.
Now we've got to wait for DeFerrin to complete a lap to see exactly where the scoring plays out.
What a battle we're seeing between these two Acura teams. Last year was sensational. DeFerrin never saw the top spot on the podium all season long. But boy, have they struck back with vengeance. They got that first win and have been on a tear ever since.
Down to Kelly.
Simon Pagenaud doing his part behind the 66. We did see a little bit of a delayed pit stop there. Do you know what was going on in the driver change?
Honestly, I didn't see. I thought the pit stop was quite good. So you're teaching me something.
How about the car out there? I mean, you went out there, you set the pace. Are you comfortable with everything?
Yeah, as I said on the radio, the car was awesome. What a race! I mean, I don't know if it was exciting from outside, but from the inside, I had a great car. The different crew did a fantastic job to set up the car, and Mid-Ohio is a great track for that car. It's just it keeps you really busy on the track. You always have to be very precise and technical, but it was great fun, and we managed to save a lot of fuel. So I'm glad the way it went, and I hope Jill will finish it on the first step side.
We'll see if Jill can bring it home. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you, Katie.
Well, I have to say that the number 9 car must have had a slow inlet, because despite that delay in their driver change, the 66 car has kept the lead, so that is huge.
22-second lead for Gilles DeFerrin over David Brabham. Time now to show you the answer to our Yokohama Forgotten Fact. 25 years ago, Bell and Holbert gave this famous car its first IMSA GTP win. No doubt about it. Go ahead.
Porsche 962. Hard to believe the amount of championships over the years that car won. So many victories in the hands of some of the most brilliant sports car drivers in the world. And you'd have to say that maybe Audi, the R8, maybe matched that task, but certainly one of the greats.
The series needs your help in selecting the move of the race as you are watching the Acura Sports Car Challenge today. Log on to AmericanLeMans.com, go to Paddock Pass, and cast your vote for the move of the race. We want to hear from you, and you can see the winner on AmericanLeMans.com. There are the class leaders here at Mid-Ohio. Gilles DeFerrin out front in P1. The American Le Mans Series on NBC is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward, and by Mazda's Summer Drive-Off event. Drive off with the best deals of the summer on a fun-to-drive Mazda. Fans here at Mid-Ohio, time for our Porsche mid-race recap. The 66 car, Pagenaud and DeFerrin, they have led all the laps so far. The overall race leader, the 16 car, had to come to pit road early. Didn't have the lights working on the front of the car. And then we saw that 6 car, the Porsche, was penalized, had contact with one of the BMWs on the track. Now in GT2, how about that 45 car? They've won 4 in a row. They're going for their 5th straight.
They are on a roll right now. They look unbeatable, but look at these Corvettes. They are so strong right now, and they also stretch their fuel longer than anyone else in the GT2 class. That could be significant at the end of this race.
Now all the GT2 leaders have been on and off of pit road. We're going to run you through this real quick. Here's the BMW. There's the Ferrari. All going smooth so far. Bergmeister getting out. There's one of the Corvettes, the number 4 car.
These guys are the best in the business at making these tire changes very efficiently, but problems for the 16 car.
Now watch out what happens here.
Okay, go, 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 go. Go, 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 go.
They
No.
Guys miss saying, I hear go, 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 no, but essentially that left front was not tight. The mechanic did the right thing and made it obvious to everyone else, don't let this car out of pit lane.
And now that's the 16. It's been back on pit road and is being pushed back to the garage, Kelly.
Having problems there. They said it felt like the boost was kind of trailing off. They thought they're having a problem with the turbo, and you can see them pushing it back. back behind the wall to the garage. Rob Dyson saying they're just going to take a look at it. They don't know if they'll be back, but they kind of wanted to get out of everybody else's way here on pit row, so they're going to go see if it's something that can be fixed and get back out there.
Thanks, Kelly. And they had trouble with that car at Lime Rock as well.
Well, the good news for this team is that the 20 car leads the class right now with Marino Franchitti. He has made his way around Adrian Fernandez. That was a fascinating battle that was going on for the last few laps, and there is that car. And there you can see how much time he has already gapped Adrian Fernandez, who's in the middle of that prototype pack. So Marino Franchitti on a roll. This car is really performing very well, has great straightaway speed. The big question is, can they do this race on just one more stop if we stay green, or will they need a critical late race splash for fuel?
And because we had that long caution period at the start of the race, that really is going to affect the fuel strategy as you talked about in the BMW keys to winning.
That's exactly what they needed. You have to back time this race. It's 2 hours 45 minutes, but at the end, when the checkered flag falls, come back from there. When can you get that final pit stop done? And then do you have enough fuel in the tank to get to the checkered flag?
You were telling me this morning it's kind of like a hockey game. You got 3 different periods, and you got to stay with your strategy.
Exactly. It's like 3 periods, 2 hour 45 minute race. All of these cars will run somewhere between 50 and an hour and 5 minutes. So you really want to have your best man in the car at the end. You want the car working well. You want the best set of tires on the car and try and get it to the checkered flag first.
We talked about Franchitti getting the lead in class. Go back and show it to you. And this was a fun battle to watch. This is on board the 15 car.
There we see it coming off the keyhole turn. We talked about that being a critical corner. He got on, get on the power early, but at Lime Rock Park, Adrian Fernandez complained that the Mazda was 7 miles an hour faster down the straightaway, and look at it there, around the outside. Adrian defends to the inside down into turn 4. Marino just slashes around the outside and takes the lead.
Now we're going to stay on this because watch Adrian try and get the position back when he feels he has an opportunity. This is madness right through here. Is that what this is called?
It is madness, elevation change, but look at the traffic up ahead. There's a gaggle of GT2 cars. There's the Zytek, that hybrid machine right in front of Marino Franchitti right now, running in P1. But look at Adrian Fernandez. He realized he needs the pants right now. He gets on the power early, down around the outside. This is the carousel turn. Can Marino respond? Yes, he does.
Nice piece of driving there.
Fantastic stuff, really good, clean driving. And here we have the P2 leader with the P1 leader coming right up behind him.
Marty, you watching this?
I'm watching everything. I was watching those replays as well, and they have told Adrian Fernandez the other Mazda is out of the race. Focus on going forward and getting that 20. Calvin, you mentioned the pit stop strategy for the Mazdas. The Lowe's team can go all the way on one more stop. That could be huge at the end of this race.
That is huge, Marty. They did it at Salt Lake City.
Right.
The Dysons were leading. They had to make that critical last stop, and that afforded them the victory for the Fernandez team.
DeFerrin flashing the lights to let the 20 know he was coming, to let Franchitti see him, make sure he got his attention.
One thing they've done on the DeFerrin car this weekend, they've actually added some color to the front of this car. I spoke to Gilles DeFerrin about it the other day, specifically for this racetrack. He said it's so hard for the traffic to see you coming up behind. We've added the stripes, made them a little bit bolder on the front of the car, so when the cars are looking in their rearview mirrors, the slower traffic will maybe see them a little bit sooner.
Well, we keep talking about Gilles DeFerrin announcing his retirement, so I asked his teammate, the young Simon Pagenaud, what his reaction was when he heard the news, and he said, you know, he's my professor, so I'm really a bit sad. He said that Gilles been helping him so much that he's improved tremendously since he started with Gilles in 2008. He said, I really just watch how he deals with everyone from the media to the engineers, and by observing him, Simon has been really, really valuable for Simon. Simon says, I'm just a little bit sad to see him go because I think I have so much left to learn from him, but he's glad, of course, he'll be sticking around as team owner.
Yeah, he'll continue to teach, you can bet that.
Well, they're a great pairing. Similar personalities, and they're getting the job done.
There you see the class leaders here at the Acura Sports Car Challenge at Mid-Ohio. Production-based cars and technology. Worldwide interest from the drivers, the manufacturers, and the fans. 4 classes competing at once on the same track. The American Le Mans Series getting close to the end here at Mid-Ohio. Coming up next, it's America's favorite summertime sport, the men's final of the AVP Crocs Hermosa Beach Open. That's coming up next, right here on NBC. We're under caution. The 19 car had an off-course excursion, got stuck in a gravel trap. Pit road just opened, so here they come. This is going to basically be a fuel stop to get them to the end?
I think so. You got about 48 minutes left in this race, so most of these cars, once they're topped up with fuel, should be good to go to the checkered flag.
It's race leader Gilles de Ferran, headed for his crew. You can see all the traffic down there on pit road. Calvin talked about it before the race began, how critical these pit stops are. You have to be flawless. Kelly.
The 66, where Gilles de Ferran just fired back up. They took fuel only for the 66. No fresh tires there.
See Fernandez in that 15, the Lowe's machine pulling out. There's Gilles. Marty, about the 9.
Well, guys, David Brabham lost a lot of time on that. They do have some body damage on that car, and Brabs wanted an air pressure adjustment. They can't really hear him on the front stretch. You see the body damage right there by the number. That is affecting their lap times. They're about equal with the 66 car, but this was a critical caution for them. It will catch them back up to the 66 car. Now it's all up to David Brabham. They did get 4 fresh tires. Remember, the 66 was fuel only. That might play a factor, too.
Sure could, and I just want to point out that Brabham was about 50 seconds behind race leader and class leader Gilles de Ferran. Now, we saw the body damage. Here's how it happened.
It was right before they made their pit stop. Look at this. Scott Sharp comes down, and right there you can see the incident with the 44 machine. It literally tore the side out of that Patron machine. Here we see it down into turn 6. Gets clobbered in the left side. And that immediately affects the aerodynamic balance of this car. It'll take downforce away and also affect the balance front to rear.
There's Scott walking away. Very disgusted about the situation.
Very frustrated. They've only had 1 win this year. It could have been so much more.
Time for our Michelin tire tip. Here's Mr. Snyder.
And Bill, it's always amazing how the American Le Mans Series race technology transfers to the street. Here's a great example. 2003, Corvette went to Le Mans. The race didn't go so well. They finished down 10 laps. They went back in 2004, put Michelins on the car, and they were very impressive. In fact, they were so impressed with the Michelins, they hired Lee Willard, Michelin engineer, to develop the brand new tire for the Corvette ZR1. So, fast forward to this year, they jumped back into GT2, and Corvette hired Lee Willard to develop this new Michelin on the Corvette GT2. Can't get more one-to-one than that. The man developing this race tire for safety and speed, developing the tires on your Corvette at home as well for safety also. Bill, in fact, I bet Mr. Willard even designed the tires on your Corvette.
Well, if he did an outstanding job. I can't tell you that, Marty.
Very good.
And they don't have a lot of miles on them yet either.
Probably not a lot of rubber either, the way you drive.
Oh, that's not nice. But I don't text while I drive. I just want you to know.
Well, here we have the eyes of Johnny O'Connell on board the number 3 machine. He is a master at this racetrack. Won so many times over the year. He's the all-time winner at Sebring with 8 wins. He's had 4 wins at Le Mans, the most for any American driver. And here, he's had 5 victories, looking for another one here today.
Now in GT2, Porsche has a new gearbox. Something they think is going to give them a little bit of assistance in GT2. And it's really a complex and an intricate piece of equipment, but we thought you might want to take a look and a listen to how this piece could help these guys compete in the American Le Mans Series.
Transmission is the double clutch itself. In our case, we have a radial positioned double wet clutch, which you can see here. We have an outer clutch package and an inner clutch package. What is really different from our double clutch transmission to other double clutch transmissions is that we have 2 oil chambers. We have one oil chamber here with the hydraulic and clutch fluid, and we have another oil chamber here with the gear set and the crown wheel pinion. One of the biggest advantages if you have a hydraulic controlled clutch, that means you can open completely the clutch. For example, if you want to do a very quick downshift from a top gear to a low gear with a converter, you cannot rev the engine up or not so quick, because the converter is always connected and you cannot open the converter. And you have this big mass of the converter and the big mass of the engine. We will open the clutch So we cut the clutch from the engine, and then we rev the engine up very quickly, and then we close the clutch and engage the gear, you know. So we are much quicker, and the response is much quicker and much more sportiveness, you know.
And let me correct myself, that's in the Porsche, not the Corvette. And that's just another example of how this technology transfers from the race car to the street car.
Exactly. They're using the American Le Mans Series to prove this technology, and then you find it on your street car probably 2 or 3 years down the road.
This is a production-based series, both the cars, the technology involved, drivers from around the world competing.
Lights are out. Here we see the leader, Gilles de Ferran. He's had 4 pole positions here. He's never won at Mid-Ohio. And in the background, just 1 car back, you see David Brabham scrubbing those tires in, getting ready to go.
Check with Marty quickly here.
Hey guys, real quick, Pat Long says he has lost the use of the clutch in that 45 car. We'll have to see if that affects the handling of the car as well, and also how he gets up through the gearbox here on the restart.
Wow, just what we were talking about.
Most of these drivers will not use the clutch typically on a normal up or down shift, but they do need it in pit lane.
The Ferrari on pit road. Fuel and a tire change. There's the number 3 Corvette also on pit road. And the 92 BMW also stopped. There's the Ferrari.
Taking tires, this is huge. Remember, those leaders are getting ready to go back to green. They have to be careful they don't immediately go another lap down here.
Jimmy Mello returns to the track.
And he is an ace in one of these machines. Won so many races over the past few years. Won the big one again this year at Le Mans. Won Sebring, the season opener. Now he's on a charge. Can he go hand down those Corvettes?
De Ferran leads in P1. Brabham runs second. A little traffic between those 2 cars. See what happens when they go back to green. Again, we're under caution. And here's why. It's the 19 car. Adam Pecorari.
This gets in a little bit too deep. You can see the brakes lock up there, or the tires lock up under braking. Then just runs wide. And into China Beach, as they call it here at Mid-Ohio. It's a massive gravel trap there at the end of the back straightaway to really deal with cars going off at high speed.
We've seen some cars get through there this weekend, but not that time.
Pace car is in. Gilles de Ferran immediately gets on the gas. Remember, the saving grace for him right now, he's got that P2 in between he and Brabs.
Wow, good restart for de Ferran.
Beautiful job there. Then we're looking at that new Porsche Spyder, purchased from Dyson. Porsche Spyder has won the P2 class here for the last 3 years in the hands of the Penske machines.
Brabham in that green and black Patron car.
Look at that. He's getting gapped quite a bit here by Gilles de Ferran. It seems like the de Ferran car seems to come up to speed a little bit quicker. Here you see David just weaving around, trying to generate some tire temp, get any pickup that may have been accumulated during that caution period off the tires. But remember, his downforce is damaged. He has a wounded race car right now.
But he's got fresh tires, so he's really trying to get some temperature in there.
He really does, and that's going to be a factor here.
Yeah, guys, they hope that these new tires will be a factor, and they also made an air pressure adjustment trying to compensate for that damage on the left rear of the car. I talked to Scott Sharp moments ago. He said he knew he hit the 44, actually hit him. He said he knew what happened, but he never radioed the crew because he had no idea it did that much damage until he saw Brabham leave, and that's when they knew they had a problem. So they made an air pressure adjustment on those tires, trying to compensate for that damage and catch that 66.
Hey, Marty, when we talked to these guys earlier in the week, they said it's 4 or 5 laps to get that tire temperature up.
Exactly. We're talking to Robin Hill, the crew chief on this team. He said it takes about 5 laps to get this car going. You can't go 100% until about 5 laps in. That's one thing he hammered home with Scott Sharp. So it's going to take a moment, but they think these tires will have a factor.
Well, one key element, of course, with this Acura is the unique design. 4 tires exactly the same size. So the rear tires are effectively on the front. They're big tires. They really don't generate a lot of heat. So they're really trying to get an aggressive setup on these cars to get that temperature up a little bit quicker.
The Michelin Green X Challenge, a vital manufacturer competition within each American Le Mans Series race. In 2009, rewards the greenest prototype and GT team at each race. The race car that goes the furthest, fastest, with the smallest environmental impact will register the best scores. You can follow the competition throughout the season at AmericanLeMans.com. We'll update that information for this race when we come back. You're watching the American Le Mans Series from Mid-Ohio on NBC. Our NBC sports team on the road at Mid-Ohio, and our thanks to Porsche for their cooperation with limited commercial interruption of this afternoon's race. The Acura Sports Car Challenge. And as we talked about before we took a break, take a look at your Green Challenge update here at Mid-Ohio. And so far, everything's been going right for that 66 bunch.
Acura 1, 2, 3, very impressive.
Again, you can check all this out at AmericanLeMans.com. There it is in GT2, Corvettes. And they always did well as GT1 cars as well.
The yellow, but very green.
That could be a t-shirt.
This is a great battle going on here. Wolf Hensler, we're on board with in the 87 Farnbacher-Lowe's Porsche, really putting the heat on Dominic Farnbacher. Farnbacher holds down the 5th place in the PTG Panos. Through madness, really busy part of the racetrack, Kelly.
Well, yeah, and what a difference a year makes for Dominic Farnbacher, who last year was fighting for the championship and a Tafel Racing Ferrari. That team has gone away, so now he's in this Panos, which is 5 years old and typically not very competitive, but he's really been driving the wheels off of it all season. He said it has been a little frustrating, but he said, you know, there's really no pressure. No one really expects us to go out there and win. We come here, we collect points, and we hope at the end of the year we might be top 3.
And he won here last year, Kelly, so he knows how to get the job done. He's in a great battle there with Wolf.
Now, how about this 48 car? This really is quite a story. This basically is a hybrid. Runs on fuel and then converts the fuel to electricity. It's the future, hopefully, of not only racing but of your street car.
It really is. The key is breaking new ground. It's now FIA homologated, so they ran for the first time with the hybrid actually connected at Lime Rock and had a debut podium finish for that technology, and essentially has taken mechanical energy, turning it into electric energy, restoring it through the battery back through an inverter, and then supplying the power. Now, it's not a boost switch like they have in Formula One. It's really fed through the software and deliberately fed to the driver once they get on the gas pedal.
Hey, Marty, I saw you stop taking notes when we were talking to these guys. It wasn't worth going on, was it?
It became too complicated at some point. Calvin does an excellent job explaining it. You and I, Weber, not so much. But say it with me. This is the electrification of transportation. Very good. And that's the motto for the team, and they certainly live by it. And they've done a good job in this. They really didn't expect much. They were able to go finish podium at Lime Rock, like Calvin mentioned. They had some engine problems. They weren't able to get a qualifying lap in. They've run the entire race so far, 4th in class right now. This has been excellent for them. They've been able to make the car live, and that's their one thing. They want to get through each race and learn from each race, and in turn help us in the street cars, help make hybrid technology just a little bit better.
That's right. And we're looking at the 37, and you're impressed with this run today.
Well, these guys always give it their all. It's the locally based team here in Ohio in a sport racing. Right now it's the old man behind the wheel, John Field, with his son Clint, who joins him at every race, of course. But this guy gives it 1,000,000%. One of the bravest and fastest drivers in the American Le Mans Series. No, they don't have all the goodies. They don't have the budget of the big teams. But boy, when he has an opportunity, he certainly struts his stuff. Remember at Salt Lake City, all the way up to 2nd at the beginning of that race. He led the race against the Audis a couple of years ago there. And he's had a pole here at Mid-Ohio in the past. His son Clint have won here back in 2004, but just a great little team.
Currently runs 3rd in class. And now in the challenge class. This is the 57 car, which has one of the best signs I've ever seen on a race car. On the back of it, it says, "Caution, snow ahead." And that's because Martin Snow and his wife are the co-drivers of this car in the ALMS Challenge Series.
Well, it's a great story. They're one of the only husband-wife teams, or they are the only husband-wife team to have won in the American Le Mans Series. They won in GTS back in 1999, took a sabbatical from racing. They now have 4 children, and it was the wife, Melanie, who said, you know what, we've got to go back to racing. That's unusual. Not the man in the family. The wife is saying this, and they've had a win already this year, and they have a great run going here today.
When you get to Road America, could you pick me up one of those electrification for transportation t-shirts? Yes, they're going to be on sale. These teams have worked hard, so have the drivers. Now the question is, who's going to get the checkered flag at Mid-Ohio? Round 6 of the 2009 ALMS season continues on NBC. Heading into the closing minutes here at Mid-Ohio, take a look at our progressive direct storylines we talked about before the race. Highcroft first to Farron. Well, it's been another good day for Gilles and Simon.
It certainly has. They've really led this thing from start to finish. Having said that, we do have 14 minutes to go, so anything can happen. But right now, the 9 car is really quick on those fresh tires.
How about P2, the Acura Fast and the Porsche coming back?
Well, just great strategy. The 15 basically leapfrogged around the 20 car during a round of pit stops and then got essentially a lap on them because the leader, the overall leader, was in the pits at the same time. And that number 6 Porsche having a great run today on their debut with that team.
And in GT2, the Porsche.
Well, is it going to be 5 in a row? That would be a record for the same driver pairing and equal Mika Salo, who did it with different co-drivers back a couple of years ago. And you see the Corvettes and BMWs all in the mix.
The 57 car, Snow and Snow, won at Salt Lake, trying to be the first 2-time winner in the challenge class. It has not been a good day for the Dyson guys, and the 16's back in the garage, in the paddock rather, and there's the 20, Franchitti, parked alongside the track. And this story took a little bit to develop. We understand from Kelly this could be a suspension problem on this car, so he is pulled off the track and into the grass. But they were having a battle back in the field because watch what happens here.
Right now, look at that. Adrian Fernandez jumps out of his pit. It was just a splash of fuel for that. They all came in together, and he was behind the overall leader there, Gilles de Ferran, but their pit stop was quicker, so they essentially gained a lap on the number 20 machine. And then a little bit later in the race, you see right here, in the thick of the traffic, Marino gets tagged, and I would have to think that suspension damage happened right there.
And Franchitti was in a situation where he had to drive as hard as he could to try and make up that ground.
He is. There you see it again from the onboard of Dominic Farnbacher. Right in the middle of the pack. We couldn't see if he got tagged there, but he got turned around and then got clipped. Here's another look at it. Those faster prototype cars going around the outside there. He just loses it in the middle of the pack there, so I'm not sure if he just lost downforce. Had to check up a little bit. As we come off the carousel turn just a few laps later, that you can see there, looked like the left rear corner just buckles under. Marino's just a passenger and turns the car around.
There's the 20.
Watch this. Let's look for the suspension right there. You see it judder on the left side. Nowhere to go. What a disappointment having won the last round and led early here today. Robert Davis and John Doonan at Mazda will be severely disappointed today.
Kelly.
Well, Chris Dyson saw the lead at one point, then his teammates in the number 20 saw the lead. Chris, what do you take away from a day like this? You were showing signs of success, some misfortune. What do you take away?
Well, we've got to move on to the next one. We've got Elkhart Lake next week, and that's an important race for us. And we've just got to regroup. It's never an easy day, but we'll just put it behind us and turn it around for next week.
You talked about the challenges of competing against a factory-backed Acura team that's had years of testing going into their car. Do you feel like you guys are up to speed with him?
No, absolutely. I mean, the pace of the cars was fantastic. I mean, everyone at Mazda and Lola and AER have done a fantastic job, and we've got the Michelin tires working really well on the car. So, we've had the pace. We had fastest lap until a little while ago in the class. We were right there in qualifying. It was in some cases just being in the wrong place at the wrong time today. But we just got to regroup, and we'll hope for a strong race next weekend.
And thanks, Chris.
And thank you, Kelly. Now, the battle in GT2. There's the number 4 Corvette. And this battle with the BMW has been going on for a little bit, too.
It's been a great race here between the Corvette and the BMW. BMW sort of like re-entered GT2. They had so much success back in the early 2000s sort of stage of the American Le Mans Series. But right now they are back, and they're finally starting to see some results with the Bobby Rahal-led team. But right now, Olivier Beretta holds down that final spot on the podium, but Dirk Mueller wants it back. These two cars, sorry Bill, got split. The two leaders in this class essentially got 3/4 of a lap because it went caution. The overall leader was right in between The 45, the 3, then there was the pace car, and then these two cars got stuck behind and lost 3/4 of a lap to the rest of the field.
It is so important to stay in front of that overall race leader.
It really is, and it's just really the roll of the dice. Where you are when that yellow comes out, you can get caught out and can completely ruin your race.
Now, the Corvette guys told us they would settle for a podium finish here.
I tell you what, they've been confident all week. You saw the look in their face, the look in their eyes. They knew they had a great race car. And you have to think about this is really just a test bed for 2010. They're going to run the full season next year. And will we see those yellow machines back at the top of the charts once again, this time in a different category?
Right now, we might see 2 Corvettes on the podium. G-Oil, the newly announced official motor oil of the American Le Mans Series, offers yet another step in the green movement by offering consumers the ability to use a 100% environmentally friendly motor oil in their family cars. More information about that is at AmericanLeMans.com. Closing minutes from Mid-Ohio coming up. Saturday, Olympic phenom Usain Bolt and Tyson Gay go head-to-head in the World Track and Field Championship. Saturday, 1 Eastern, right here on NBC. Good crowd here at Mid-Ohio for round 6 of the 2009 American Le Mans Series season. On board with Gilles de Ferran, the final minutes of what he has said will be his final ride here at Mid-Ohio.
This is a very physical racetrack in terms of the demands it puts not only on the race car but the driver as well. And I think all of these guys got a little bit of a reprieve here today, Bill, because it's pretty cool here for an August summer day. So ambient temps in the high 70s. It could have been in the 90s. And that would have been a real hard race for these drivers to do a long stint in.
It's expected to be 92 degrees here tomorrow. So these guys really did catch a break.
What a great performance by this team. 4 in a row is remarkable with the competition that's on hand right now. They're just executing, doing everything right.
And again, de Ferran announced yesterday he will retire at the end of this season to concentrate on owner and give up his helmet. And we can go back to GT2 and look at this. That's a pass for position.
It is. Dirk Mueller, who won here last year in the Ferrari, just puts a great move on Olivier Beretta. Fantastic stuff. They've been duking it out for many laps, and a good clean move down into turn 1. Such a fast entry there. Sometimes you just get your nose chopped, but he got down far enough and got the position.
And that would put that Ray Hall Letterman BMW on the podium.
That would be great for that team based here in Columbus. Let's take another look at this as it evolved.
And he was working on this for a while.
He was. So he gets good traction off the carousel. That's key. Gets good exit speed and then makes it stick as they hit the brakes down into turn 1. Boy, he gaps him immediately.
He did.
Olivier Beretta may have got out in the marbles a little bit there and couldn't get the grip back. But right now, we'll keep working hard. Doug Feehan and the boys will be on the radio just saying, keep pushing, Olivier. You can get it back. One of the most successful drivers in the American Le Mans Series history.
And guys, for this Ray Hall Letterman team in the 92, this was a challenging day. They get hit by a challenge car early in the race. But you think there was any pressure? Last week they were last time out, they were at BMW's home track at Lime Rock. This week, Bobby Rahall's home track. Oh, you know they wanted to do well, and they really expected this time of the year to be the time of the year when this car rounded into form. Right now, Dirk Mueller very happy with the car, and it looks like they'll get another good finish out of this one.
This race begins the second half of the 2009 season. Those BMWs want to be considered a strong contender in GT2.
They won here at Mid-Ohio back in 2001, and they've had 2 podiums already this year. Looking for their third here with the 92 machine.
And that 92 car is currently running third, and that would put him on the podium. The Corvette behind him in 4th. There you see the overall leader, Gilles de Ferran, going by in that XM Acura.
Look how smooth he is. Look at the hands on the wheel. Just feeling the grip, and that's what it's all about for these great race car drivers. That's what makes the difference. Track conditions are changing. You just need to maximize the car, realize its full potential.
And he's got about a 12-second lead on David Brabham, right?
He does, and Brabham came back at it a little bit a few laps ago and closed that gap. We talked about Brabham being on fresher tires, but with a damaged race car, so it probably equalizes itself out in terms of the performance of the 2 cars.
Got it down to about 10 seconds, but now runs 12 seconds behind Gilles de Ferran.
Look at this, through the carousel, second gear, 60 miles an hour, then up through the gears onto that front straightaway. Here's the gap. This is Gilles de Ferran that we're looking at. And in the background, we're going to look for David Brabham. Where is he? Flashes through turn 1.
Here he comes.
The gap now is down underneath 10 seconds, but now David has to negotiate through this GT2 traffic. Good clean run there. That didn't cost him much. If he can clear these two cars going down the back straightaway, that should be a net gain.
And that's really where he picked up some time, because Gilles had to go through that same traffic as well.
Look at the marbles off to the side of the road there. You can see them build up over the course of this race.
Watch this bump. That's when Scott Sharp was in the car, contact with the 44.
This is where the Patron machine got injured, right there. Little tap from the left side by the 44 machine. Nowhere for him to go. He had to turn. He couldn't just run off the racetrack. Just very tight quarters there with the traffic, as we talked about all day long here at this very difficult racetrack in traffic.
And guys, this time of the run has really been David Brabham's calling card this year, turning it on late in the run. They got it down to 7 seconds at one point, but just checked in with Robin Hill, and they feel like that this car, being damaged, just has not gotten through traffic like Gilles de Ferran has been able to do. So if they can't get through traffic like Gilles de Ferran can, that's where they've lost their time. They would get it down to about 7 seconds, and then it would go back up to 12. They've made an awful big effort on this 9 to catch the 66. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's not going to happen unless de Ferran has some kind of trouble working the last lap here at Mid-Ohio. Last lap around this historic track for Gilles de Ferran.
Flashing the lights, what a way to go out. He announced his retirement back in 2003 when he won Indy and won the final kart race of the year at Texas Motor Speedway. He returned to racing to establish this new sports car team, and now he's announcing his retirement, but he knows how to do it. He does it with style.
And you saw a glimpse of the fans watching on the hillside. They're all around this track. A good turnout for this afternoon's race. De Ferran ready to head home.
Fast left-hander, turn 11, about 130 miles an hour, then on the brakes. One slow corner to lead him on that front straightaway.
He's been a terrific driver and a gentleman. He's treated everyone politely and professionally, and he takes the checkered flag at Mid-Ohio.
Pick up the brother, please. Lots of brother pickup, please.
Gilles de Ferran, the winner in P1, the overall winner as well. And we'll be back to talk to all the class winners when we come back to Mid-Ohio. Congratulations to Gilles de Ferran and Simon Pagenaud. The American Le Mans Series on NBC is brought to you by Acura, Advance, by Yokohama Tire, uncompromising performance, and by Progressive Insurance. Visit progressive.com. An action-packed afternoon here at Mid-Ohio. Some fantastic racing and certainly some big winners, including that 66 car. Gilles de Ferran and Simon Pagenaud.
Well, what a weekend for Gilles. This sports foundation is built on emotion. That was displayed in spades here today by that team. Great to see Jonesy here to see all happen.
An emotional Gilles de Ferran with Kelly Stavist.
Well, Gilles de Ferran saving the best for last. Gilles, I know you've loved Mid-Ohio. You've had so much success here, but not quite the win. And with everything surrounding this weekend, how special is today's win?
It's been an emotional weekend. That's all I can tell you. It's an emotional roller coaster. You know, this is the last time I'm going to race here, and it's always been a special place. And certainly, what happened here last year left us with some deep scars. So it's a great result for us.
Did you expect it to kind of hit you like this?
You never know how it's going to hit. You know, it's always a surprise. So that's the beauty about our sport. You know, it's man and machine on the limit, and you never know how you're going to react.
And looking on the bigger picture, this moves you just that much closer to that championship we know you'd like to bring home to Acura. How important was this fourth straight victory for you?
We got to keep pushing, you know. I mean, there's still, I believe, 4 or 5 races to go. And to be honest, it's no point looking at the championship table. We just got to take every weekend as they come, do the best we can, and see where we end up in the end of the year.
Thank you, Kelly. Unofficially 8 points out of the lead for DeFerrin and company. Diaz and Fernandez in P2.
Well, it was fantastic execution by the Lowe's Fernandez team. That final stop was awesome, and a great debut run with that Porsche for the Muscle Milk team.
Look at that 6-car coming in second. Down to Marty Snyder.
Big P2 win for Luis Diaz and Adrian Fernandez. You were worried about the lack of horsepower this morning, and that may have been what won you this race.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to be smart, and like I said, we have to keep doing what we've been doing all year. And fantastic pit stop. The Michelin tires were fantastic, and the Acura engine very reliable, and that's good because we can save a little bit more fuel. But it was close. Great battle with Franchitti at the end, so I'm very, very happy.
How about this Lowe's Acura team? 5 wins in 6 races this season.
Thank you, Marty. Now in the challenge class, a snow job.
They could have had 3 in a row. It's their second win of the year. Just an electrical failure late in the go at Lime Rock cost them the victory there.
Good run for them. Down to pit road, more celebration, and back to Kelly.
And the only husband-wife duo we have here picking up their second win of the season, Melanie and Martin Snow. Congratulations. Tell me how you got it done out there. You had to make up some positions from the start.
We didn't have to make up too much. We were, she made up a couple, and she brought the car in the lead and looking good, and it was a great car when I got in. Everything was working well, and it really felt good, and the track was good. The Yokohama tires were really, really good, and everything was great. And Melanie did a great job, and I had to make sure I brought it back because I never would have heard the end of it if she gave me a lead car and I did something different. So I had to drive hard. But
you both did your part. Congratulations.
Thanks, Kelly. A million stories here in GT2, but Bergmeister and Patrick Long, the first time 2 drivers have ever won 5 consecutive races in GT2.
Well, can you say the word momentum? They are on a roll right now, but a strong statement by Corvette. They'll be a very strong threat for a championship season in 2010.
Marty.
Well, somebody's going to have to break up this duo of York Bergmeister and Patrick Long. Are you guys going to share victory lane with anyone else this year or what?
It keeps feeling sweeter, so no. The Corvette guys are going to want it before the end of the year. They kept us honest today, but just a phenomenal job. Jörg had such a great opening stint. Thank you to our partners at Flying Lizard. It's eSilicone, RedlineCoffee.com, Shortell. These guys have really made it happen, but that 911 was good today.
5 straight for these guys, a new record for one duo.
Thanks, Marty. They've learned how to celebrate well. Here are the winners in the Michelin Green Challenge.
An Acura sweep and a big day for DeFerrin Motorsports at the top on this chart also.
In GT2, the Corvette gets the Green Challenge victory. The next stop for the American Le Mans Series, next Sunday, August 16th, live at 3 p.m. on Speed from Road America. And coming up next, it's AVP Crocs Volleyball, the men's final. So the fans heading home after seeing plenty of excitement here at Mid-Ohio. The return of the Corvette, drivers from all across the world in this production-based series. Lots of tension, lots of technology, and Gilles DeFerrin able to get to victory lane at Mid-Ohio the day after he announced he will retire at the end of the 2009 season. For Calvin Fish, Marty Snyder, Kelly Stavis, and all the men and women around the track and in the truck, I'm Bill Weber. Thanks for having us in for the race, and so long from Mid-Ohio.